Sorry, what'd you say? You said you've been thinking about this for years?
For years, and I see people running the wrong way towards accommodation and inclusivity, and I just think, no, you're going the wrong way. You're making it worse.
Well, so here's my only frustration and my only worry is like, I look at this graph, dude, you talked about in the previous podcast or previous episode, and I just wonder, this graph is a very even bell curve, which I feel is a misrepresentation of the way it goes. I feel like it's more like this, and then once you reach the collapse, I feel like the decline is not as gradual as the growth. On this graph, it looks like the decline is almost gradual as the growth, but when collapse happens, like it's fast. It actually hits and collapses. And this is why, like, Ronald Reagan, for example, said that, we're always just one generation away from losing all our freedoms.
Yes.
You know?
That's how fast.
Yeah, that's how fast it goes. And so, like, my frustration right now is it's like, I look at where we are with bureaucratization and accommodation. Like, these guys that have done this since the 70s, we've lost now 2 or 3 generations of young men in at least my ward to just a failed youth program. And all of the upper class and older leadership of our church that constantly is calling each other and placing each other in positions of power and authority. Like, we can't, the underclass of Mormonism can't get past that glass ceiling. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And this overclass of lay clergy, that's what we are, is going to live so long that there won't be anything left by the time we're, what are you going to be bishop over? All the families have moved out of your ward. You're not going to be for another decade, even though you're the most boomer friendly. You know what I'm saying? The most boomer friendly millennial I've ever met. You speak their language. You got their niceness, nomenclature. And that's not a criticism. I mean, it's a good thing, I think. But it's like, what is the average Jonah Barnes? There's going to be nobody left to excommunicate by the time you're in charge.
I've done this thought exercise. What if the prophet came out tomorrow and he was like, we are not living up to our covenants. Everybody needs to be rebaptized fast as you can. Do not take the sacrament again until you've been rebaptized. What if he did? What if he did? Just let's pretend. He came out from the pulpit and he said that. And if you don't, you're off the rolls. I don't know. What if he did? What would happen?
That would be awesome.
It would be awesome, I kind of think. I mean, yeah, and immediately our head moves to, well, what are all the problems? Well, it would cause this problem or that problem. That's immediately where our heads go to, right? It's not where Brigham's head went. He stood from the pulpit. He said, you go to the Sonoran Valley. You're going to go to the Salt River Valley. You're going to settle that place. They're like, that place is uninhabitable. Tough beans. Pack your wagons and go. And look, we always go to like trying to explain why. Well, why would that result in growth? I don't know why it results in growth, but it does.
Well, I know why it does.
I don't have to explain.
You don't want to participate in something that's not BA and doesn't like actually produce results. And guess what? Best health programs produce results. Like the crazy CrossFit psychos.
Sure, of course.
You know what I'm saying? Like you'd rather, if you're going to join a gym, go with the CrossFit psychos.
Yeah, like
that force you to like eat dirt and kale.
Like like think of your child, right? When you're, I got teenagers and at some point I'm like, they need to go get a job. Do they need the job? Not really. I pay for their food and their board or whatever. Why do they need the job? They need the job because they need to work and do something hard. Is it harder? Yeah, it is. Are they going to have a jerky boss who's mean to them? I hope so. Right?
Yeah.
What if the body of the church was your child? You're the prophet. The body of your church is your child. And you're looking at least North America. You're looking at the church in North America, right? You think there's an awful lot of teenagers here living in the church's basement and playing video games and eating my food, and they haven't had a job and they're 28 years old.
Okay.
Right? You'd say, you guys need to get out of the house, get a job with a boss that hates you, and start paying your own way. And I don't know how you do that in this metaphor.
Do you say, be honest, do you think we're gonna? P.S. By the way, if people haven't seen this yet, you got to get one. Dude, have you seen these things yet,
your
Dave?
massage thing.
It's really exciting. It's actually it's a different life form.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it's out of Aliens.
Dude,
it's
you look like
blood from
you look like Immortan Joe
running up his
like
spine.
a what?
Immortan Joe from Mad Max Fury Road. He's got the breathing thing on his back. Have you people
really?
not seen?
I gotta look that up. No, it's this crazy cool back massager I got at the Home and Garden show for cheap because I was one of the vendors. You know what I'm saying? And so, well, actually, I shouldn't say cheap. It was $100. But like it like freaking is the bomb.com. You guys got to try it.
See, comfort. That's what you're doing. See, you're living this out. Look at you. You're in yellow. Comfort.
Or
phase.
how about rehabilitation for the pinched nerve? You know what I'm saying? From working too hard. So, okay, last question. Do you think we'll actually get out of this? Or because I this is what I think one of two things is going to happen. I think the church, I think within 5 or 6 years, we will just be in utter collapse or hospice in North America, in most of the traditional urban and suburban centers of the West. And maybe there will also be some good congregations in like Kentucky and places where there's still affordable housing and whatnot. But largely the great Brighamite empire of the West will be in just degenerate decline under the weight of its own prosperity, frankly.
Under the weight of its own prosperity.
Yeah, yes, under the weight of its own prosperity.
Well put.
And we'll just be in the collapse phase. Or it will be drastically different and be back in the birth and persecution and success phase, because so many boomers will die in the next 5 or 6 years. Like, you would never wish this upon anybody, obviously, but you just look at the birth rate and the average lifespan and the numbers and great technological advancements and dietary advancements can only add on so many years before just the great certainty starts catching up with you.
Well,
and when that happens, they are going to have to dip past the largest generation by volume, just sheer volume of people, that has just the Chronos generation that ate the futures of all of its children and just greedily took all the resources, will ultimately die. And in order to just restaff itself, all of the Gen Xers, the younger Gen Xers, the elder millennials, and I swear dipping even into the Zoomers, to be able to staff local elders quorums, local bishoprics, local anythings, you know what I'm saying? They're going to have to dip into millennial leadership. They're going to have to dip into Gen X leadership. I think they'll have to dip down as far as Zoomer leadership. And let me tell you, the Jonah Barnes of this world, when some woke scold wants to come in and commandeer a meeting and demand that there's a pride flag flown outside of the chapel because, you know, the local municipality has a 15th Pride Day and we want to show that your church is on board with this. And I heard from Stacy in HR that you guys believe in being subject to kings and principalities and upholding and sustaining the law. So here's your flag and you got to put it up. Or, you know, the boomer that would bend the knee and kiss the ring, you know, Jonah Barnes ain't going to do that. And he's going to say, go pound sand or arrest me. And then all of a sudden, the bureaucrat who's never had that said in his face before will be like, oh, shoot. And that will attract more people to come back to church, to join the church.
Standing for something hard is attractive.
Yeah.
Standing against the culture is attractive. Like, the worst thing you can do is put on that gangster rap and sing the words. Your kids are like, oh, well, now I don't like it. The best thing you can do is to stand against the culture. You want your teacher. This is why I send my kids to public schools. You want the teacher, the blue-haired teacher, yelling at my children, telling my children that they should be more passionate about Pride Month.
And when they come home, you're in a dress and you've transitioned.
No.
So
no, that's what I want. Because my kids sit in the back of the classroom and they go, this lady's crazy. And they're contrarian and rebellious, and so they come home and they're like, dude, you know what's super cool, man? Traditional families. Yeah, don't tell anybody. And you're like, you guys made traditional families into punk rock? How did you do this? Like we've never been able, and that's what public schools do for my kids. So I love my kids in public schools.
Okay.
But you stand against the culture and people respect that. They respect it. So you should look for opportunities. You should, we always look for opportunities to water things down. We should be looking for opportunities to build the church up, build sacrament meeting up, build the temple up, build people's servant callings up, build it up, having more children. Oh, I'm sorry, it's hard? It's hard? Yeah, darn right it's hard. Have more. Serving a mission. It's hard? Yeah, darn right it's hard. Yeah, of course it is. Jeffrey Holland gave that great talk, the Don't You Dare Go Home talk. You ever heard this talk?
Yeah, totally.
And he's like, of course it's hard. It's the blood of Jesus. Of course it's hard. You got to earn it. Like that type of stuff, man, people feel that's real and good and true. They feel it in their soul. And so, yeah.
It's interesting to me that the Book of Mormon, as I'm thinking about this, the Book of Mormon contains numerous accounts of sort of returning to the moment of vision and a new founding. And some of them are moments where the society as a whole seems to get its act together, okay? Or gets a fresh infusion in society as a whole. So the sort of Alma, Reformation, Renaissance. Another might be Moroni and the Title of Liberty, right? Another might be after the cataclysms in 3rd Nephi, right? There's a moment of collective revelation. But it also has, more than one story where the vision has to be sought on a smaller scale, right? Lehi and his family flee Jerusalem. Nephi flees his brothers. Alma
was one
flees
guy
into the waters of Mormon. Right. Abinadi, in the immediate moment, fails to achieve the rejuvenation, right? So yeah, I don't know. It's curious to me that the Book of Mormon seems to show two models of how to go forward from here.
And I want to throw some praise on somebody who had a wonderful impact in bringing me back. Russell M. Nelson gave a talk about the Sabbath. One of the most influential talks I've ever heard. Changed my testimony, changed my life. He talked about the Sabbath should be a delight. Fantastic talk. Hit me like a ton of bricks. And I decided to change how I act and view the Sabbath. That was taking me back. I was in a comfortable place. He took me back to this vision, to this novelty that it's peculiar. I don't call it Sunday anymore. I hate that word. I call it the Sabbath, right? Why? I don't know. I'm fine with mystery. I'm fine with ritual. Okay. And I say it to people who are not members of the church and they think I'm kind of weird, and I'm totally cool with that. I call it the Sabbath. So my name is Jonah. I make bagels and I call it the Sabbath. Everybody thinks I'm a Jew, by the way.
Yeah. That's funny.
So that's one thing he did to pull us back. They're re-emphasizing the garment. The brethren said, well, all these accommodations are going on. They said, we're doubling down on the garment, tripling down on the garment. Now in the temple recommend interview questions, I have to read this paragraph to people about how important the temple garment is.
That paragraph has been there for a decade.
No, it's different. No. There was a little blurb, and now it's this big old thing. And it says, are you keeping the covenants and the initiatory ordinances? Are you staying true to your covenants? They're re-emphasizing wearing the garment. I think it's fantastic. That's taking us back to ritual, to mystery, to spirituality. So the brethren, in some of these ways, are saying, we have to get back. They recognize the problem, and I'm glad that they do. And some of these are harder to move than others. But I think one of the hardest ones that we've talked about is exclusivity and inclusivity. I think that's tough. What about poverty? What if the church came out and said, all right, everybody here, if you're making, everybody in North America, you're making more than X amount, you need to give that money to the church tomorrow. Every penny. If you've covenanted in the temple, you need to give it all to the church. People would flip their lid. They'd flip out. They would leave. They'd say, how dare you? You don't have a right, blah, 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 blah. And all of a sudden you'd find out the people who really covenanted to consecrate and those who didn't. These are things that in the early church they did, and they sound crazy today. Why do they sound crazy? We're talking about cosmic exaltation. This shouldn't sound crazy. It should, we should say it is within the realm of possibility that the prophet says, Jonah, leave your business, leave everything, move to the Yukon and preach to the Inuit Indians for the rest of your life. I don't know how you're going to survive. Come back in 30 years if you're still alive and tell us how it went. That should be within the realm of possibility if you've consecrated yourself to the Lord. But we hear that and we're like, that's bananas. That's insane. No one would ever do that.
Yeah, we can't even give a church talk.
We can't even give a church talk. We don't even read the Book of Mormon before we go on a mission. So, I don't know.
Okay, good job. Any other takers before bonus materials are over? By the way, we got to do an entire podcast with this. I'm going to get you guys all
massager guy.
I'm going to get you
So
these
we're all
things.
sitting around holding a little massage.
And it's like, by the way, we need these in the temple because the lady that was selling them to me, she, or not even just in the temple, like this could be in like sacrament meeting. She said her favorite exercise, she like jokingly called it like the prayer roll or something like that. And so she says, if you take this and you put it on your neck and then you apply pressure, like putting your hands together like you're praying, then you get the inside of your neck. And this feels so good right now. You guys are going to totally love it. And I just thought, we could incentivize prayer. Like this, like the old Catholic icon pictures your grandma had, you know what I'm saying, in the above the fireplace. We could totally incentivize that if we just had these things in the temple. Like, how awesome would it be if there was massage chairs in the temple?
You went and checked in and you got handed out your massager. You rented for $2.
Yeah, dude, that's what I'm talking about right there. See, these are my kind of Josiah reforms.
They're all white.
White and cream colored.
Yeah, white and cream colored massages. Like, see, these are the kind of reforms I think.
Dude, Ward Radio branded white massage temple scarves.
This is the way.
This is the way.
This is the way.
2 Nephi 31. This is the way.
All right. Later.